asked you before, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I only ask because there's a story, a plot, a narrative, if you will, that is written within the scripture of the Hebrew Bible. Now, what's so epic and major about this? Two things, actually. One, the story is not written in a chronological status. So, when you read it, there are many things that actually have to be gone back to. You would have to read the story, properly discern what you're reading, the entire book of what they call the Old Testament of the Hebrew text. Read that first. So from Genesis to Zechariah, and then you would then understand that you'd have to go back within that same narrative and reread and reread and reread. Now, the reason why I stress this is because we all know that the parents of Cain and Abel ate from a tree that gave them knowledge, or the ability to learn, I should say. With this taken into consideration, the first people that we ever hear about cultivating any actual skills outside of Cain and Abel, the most basic skill they were endowed with would have been cultivation through their father, and then herding and things like that is something that Abel apparently learned. However, with that said, Cain's children go on to become artificers in metal and brass works, things of the nature, to create instruments, to become the first herdsmen, become the first people to known for people who dwell and live in tents. Um, Cain himself is the first man that we know of to build a city. All the skills it takes to do that, when you consider the fact that the first man was not created with inherent knowledge, only with an inherent mandate, the bloodline of the inherent knowledge, not forbidden knowledge, mind you, inherent knowledge now, because the knowledge that this man had, whether it was forbidden or not, or whether it was knowledge to be learned or not, is not up for him. He is born with this naturally, and he is also born with a normal soul constitution. The soul constitution given to the first man would have been the rise to the knowledge that was unearthly and forbidden, whereas this man who was born with the soul normally would have still been born with the soul. Not saying that his ability to understand would have been any greater, but the fact that Adam went against the mandate of living in the garden and cultivating and keeping it, when he took it upon himself, as with his wife, who before him took upon herself to eat from the tree, they then caused a spiraling of events that first changed their genetic structure and their biology. And we have to appreciate and acknowledge this within the scripture later on, within the book of the Kings, when Balaam is going to, I want to say Damascus, if I'm not mistaken, or he's maybe even Assyria. I can't think of which, but he's going to leave too to go see the peoples. And the Most High tries to stay him with an angel in his way. And the ass, the donkey that he's riding on, can see the angel, but Balaam cannot. He strikes the ass 3 times. Then upon the 3rd time of striking it, the Most High first opens the mouth of the ass, therefore changing the frequency and the octaves emitted by the animal, where in which the man can understand the animal, and there can be clear, concise communication, and then there in which where the man Balaam is now able to see the angel that he could not see before, changing his visual spectra. So my point is that when Adam and Eve eat this fruit, their visual spectra is then changed. Their biological constitution is also changed. Their ability to learn is then birthed in that moment. Therefore, the children there in which that they would have this natural ability also. Do you understand what I'm saying? Um, that means that Cain's children and Cain alike had the ability to learn. Now, greater question, the greater question is this, is who did Cain learn some of these things from? Right? That's what you have to ask yourself. See, any race pre-flood, be it centaur, minotaur, nymph, mermaid, anything you can think of, cyclops, titans, you can name it. There was clans of them and all that. Um, um, they all still come from a direct root source. Some come more from fallen angel fathers, and the bloodlines then splinter off between them mating with animals, normal men, splicing of genetics there, here too. And then there's also the concept of the female angels that I feel mated with men, and not just what Lilith may have done or what the daughters of Eve may have done. This is true fallen angel women giving birth, taking men and giving them children. I once again, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. For there to have been fallen ones, right? There, well, there. I'm not saying there must have been, but there may have been, an order of beings sent here or who came here themselves to stop all that. We shall never know. And I lean on Deuteronomy 29:29 ever so vehemently, because it says, that the secret things are for the Lord our God, and the things revealed are for us and our children forever, that we may do all the words of this book for this law. But we shall come right to it, because we're right around the corner from it. And we're on Deuce 9 right now. 29:29. The secret things belong to the Lord our God, but the things that are revealed belong to us and to our children forever, to do all the words of this law. I can't stress it enough. So even if you think I'm wrong, if you think you can contend with that one verse, raise your hand, please. Because I'm coming from basic foundation that everything I just said, Cain and his children and all that things pre-flood, and the first world post-flood was all still on Pangea. So when people think about how did they get all these caverns and this, that, and the other, some of these things were opened up because of the Tower of Confusion, because the world was separated. The earth was divided. I can't stress this stuff enough. Once again, where did this slick idea to come to build this tower come from? I can only allude to so much. I want to give away everything I got right here. I'm not done with Middle Earth. I'm not done. I'm not done with the ancestry of these things and these peoples who claim to be your brothers and sisters and are not. I'm not done. I am simply taking a needed hiatus to focus on other things, so that way I may do them thoroughly also. I know many of the things I speak on don't come clearly to everyone. I'm not trying to speak above anybody on any level. What I'm trying to do is translate the message the best way I know how. So this is how I speak. If how I speak is out of your range or out of your comfort, so be it. But you don't have to agree. You need only acknowledge what I said, and better yet, if you could understand it, so that way you could see where I'm coming from. Or even if you're like, yeah, I don't agree with that at all, but I still understand his point, that's all I need. That's all I'm asking for. Understand this. Chicken or the egg? People. Think about it. Think about it. What I just said for a moment. I'm going to skip a long time, a long ways forward into the future. Even if a race of beings came from the Middle Earth and usurped another race of people. Their root stock ultimately either goes back to the Adamite bloodline, feasibly through all the other children that Adam had and all the other children that his sons had. You understand, right? Who could have went into Middle Earth, which is why they look like the people now. And it was believed that Adam was a larger giant man, so this would give rise to why they were larger people. However, we won't get carried away with that. What we'll get carried away with is that these are bloodlines of things that had already existed. There is a limited source of where in which these bloodlines start and stem from. You have to keep that in your minds. And you have to be ever conscious of anything that may have been going on at that time. Keep in your mind, once again, right after the flood, it was Pangea. So only disembodied spirits that the book of Enoch said were still on the earth after the flood could have been here to influence anything. But we have to remember, these young men had 100 years on earth before the flood. So they brought all the knowledge that they had with them and all the knowledge of their wives and anything that Noah taught them growing up that was differing or in contradiction to the knowledge that they had already learned. This would give rise to understanding rituals and things that people don't practice anymore because we're thousands of years displaced. And the last practitioners of it were thousands of years ago. So, saying everything that I have said, please just know that when I come with these works, they're not to impress. They are to show you the most base level and to connect us with on some physical standard with all the things that we're reading about, so that way they kind of sort of make sense. Because I'm not saying that I can make sense out of the Bible, but what I understand makes sense to me, and that's all that matters. So if what you understand makes sense to you and it's leading you to the Most High, what can I say other than touche? I'll see you when I get there, if I get there, if I ever get there. But I pray I do. I pray that everybody who's worthy of making it makes it. I pray that the wicked get what they have coming. I pray that those that are not our people die the death that they deserve. For every moment that I think in my life of our people who woke up and killed themselves out of the sheer dreadful reality of their lives of being chattel slaves, I cannot express to you enough when those that were of the Moroccan or Amorite ilk, the Edomite ilk, by way of the Arabic people, who are those who are the black Gentile things that were of the Aborigine blood, who stem from this land, bearded and curly, semi-coarse hair and all, and those that are the bald-faced, woolly-haired people, and those who are the straight-hair people with bald faces, who have claimed to be my people for such a long time. I am going to pray onto you the most wicked destruction. Oh, nothing holy about it, just wicked. The same way you lived is the same way I pray you die. With that said, the chicken supersedes the egg every time in my book. And the chicken is a bird that was birthed from the water like every other bird. So says this book. So says this book. Winter is the first season. Then it would be spring. Then it would be summer. Then it would be fall. By natural trade of things, because how it happened so and such when it rained upon the earth. Well, and what season could it be in order for it to rain and then for a harvest to take place? Thank you very much. We went to the procession of seasons and through evolution in the very beginning of the Bible. Did anyone listen? I don't know. It's not my problem. However, I'm going to leave you with this. I am one man. I am one man. I am not saying I know anything more than anyone else. But if you want to come and sit down with me and break it all on down for real, not in your feelings, not in your emotions, let's do that. Because once again, you can't be 100% correct about anything in this scripture. You weren't there. It's too hard to discern what parts of it were 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 jumbled up 100 years before, 600 years before, and were put in places that they actually weren't taking place in. Anyway, see, once again, I'm giving away too much of my understanding on this, you know, and I feel like that's not good for me to do, because when people have the tools that it is that they think you have, then they no longer feel that they have to or want to take from you anything that they think is important, because they think that they have enough. You can never learn enough, ever. I end on this quote. The man who created Charlie Brown, I can't think of his name to save my life. At the age of 91, he said, and I quote, "I learned. I still have a lot to learn." End quote.